Hi, Rob Howard here for EFL Talks, and today we're coming to you from the North Pole, or north of Poland, that is, and it's right before Christmas, so we thought we'd do something festive, hence the Santa Claus beer. And we have somebody special here today. We have Gabriel, and he's from Bulgaria right now, but he can tell you about himself. And we met through one of my group's English students. And we had an English student party just about a month ago. And Gabriel is somebody who's been adding a lot with his website. So, Gabriel, thanks so much for helping out.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Cheers.
And it's great to have you here. You're going to talk about error correction today, correct?
Yep, that's the topic of today.
Wonderful. So, I'll give you, let's set the timer. You got 10 minutes. And
okay.
I'll see you on the other side of 10 minutes.
Cool. See you at the end of the presentation.
Okay. Bye.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, first of all, just, thanks to Rob for having me here on EFL Talks. I'm going to talk about correcting learners' spoken errors during classes. So these can be during one-to-one classes or group classes. I think the first important thing to look at is what the difference between an error and a mistake is. The difference lies completely in the reason why a learner creates an incorrect utterance, who says something like incorrect. If the student has made an incorrect utterance because of their lack of knowledge, because they don't know the rules, or because they don't know any the correct vocabulary, then these are errors. If the student has made a mistake at an accident, an incorrect utterance as an accident, this is a mistake. This is very common in English language learning and language learning in general. Although the learner knows the rule, there's still a problem with the language output. This is very familiar with language learners. I like to look at the differences between errors and mistakes. I like to look at them as knowledge issues and performance issues, because essentially that's what they are. Okay, so actually when we talk about error correction, we do mean error and mistake correction. And today that's what I'm going to be looking at, these two types of errors or mistakes, these two issues. Okay, moving on. Okay, when do we use error correction? Okay, so essentially there are three main times that I can think of to use error correction. When you finish the communicative activity, it can be a free speaking or conversational activity, or more controlled speaking practice. This all completely depends on your teaching style and the kind of students you have, their ages, the level, how many you have in the group. You can do error correction at the end of a lesson as a sort of consolidation of what was learned during that lesson. So that can be very useful to tie up loose ends during the lesson. And it's very good for using up that last awkward 10 or 20 minutes you have at the end of lessons sometimes. And similarly, you can do it at the beginning of the following lesson, where you consolidate what was looked at, what was studied, the previous lesson. Yes, so why? Why do we do it? Why bother with error correction? Okay, the first point I'm making here is probably the most important one. We do this because it's very important for the teachers to know what the issues are with their students. When they speak and create an incorrect utterance, is this because it's a knowledge issue or performance issue? If, as a teacher, if you don't know which one it is, how can you help the student? You need to know this to act and to decide what to do next. The other main reason why we do error correction is two-pronged. Essentially, we're focusing directly on the learner's needs. So we address the individual problems that these students have, and you're looking at what really needs to be addressed. Also, as an extra benefit, if you're not determined by an external demand of a syllabus, if you have quite a lot of freedom as a teacher, the learner's mistakes and the gaps in the learner's knowledge, which you can determine very easily through error correction, can help determine what's going to be taught and can help to shape your own syllabus with this student or with this group. And finally, especially if you're very into communicative language teaching, it is good to provide a balance to strong communicative classroom activities with analytical activities, something that the student can sit down and really focus on and get to grips with. Okay, so now we look at how. How do we do the error correction? Okay, basically I'm going to describe 5 main stages of how I do error correction. They are define, present, determine, fix, and raise awareness. Defining consists of the teacher making notes. Presenting consists of the teacher presenting the errors and mistakes to the learners. Determining, what does this mean? Determining what's on mistakes and what's the errors, what's the language, performance issues and knowledge issues. And fixing the errors and fixing the mistakes through raising awareness. Let's look at these one by one. I'm going a bit fast, I realize that we're going to look at them in more detail now. Okay. Okay, so defining. The teacher makes notes of incorrect utterances made by the learner during the lesson. What kind of things can they be? Well, they can be grammatical issues, like I went to the cinema. They can be vocabulary issues. I'm a very long person. They can be pragmatic issues, like, how are you? Thank you. That one is a pet peeve of mine, by the way. And they can also be pronunciation issues. So you can also make a note of words and sentences that are being pronounced incorrectly, which you can also address in the error correction itself. But not only incorrect utterances, you could also take notes of things that you can, upgradable utterances. So things that you can teach your students that could make their English better. Even if what they're saying is correct, you can always make it more impressive and upgrade it. So, this can be upgradable grammar, like, I like this bicycle, but I don't like that bicycle. Or how about, I like this bicycle, but I don't like that one. Or upgradable vocabulary. The corridor smells very, very bad, or the corridor stinks. So, yeah, this is the definition. You can take note of anything you want to help your student with in these areas. Okay, let's move on to the presentation of it. This is quite straightforward. There are 2 main situations. You might be doing one-to-one lessons. And in this case, you can simply go through it with them, as human to human, and talk through the errors and mistakes together as a team. Or if you have a large group, a class, it is a great opportunity to play a game. What I would do, for example, is write down all the sentences and errors on a board, put the students into teams, tell them to correct the sentences that are on the board themselves in teams, and then they can give them to you one by one at your, they can give them to you one by one, and you can allot points for each group, depending on how close to the correct form they get. Okay, moving on to determine. Okay, so this is one of the main reasons we do this, is to decide what language issues are a problem of knowledge and what language issues are simply a performance issue. So, how do we find out if it's a knowledge issue or a performance issue? It's very simple. If the learner sees the incorrect form on the board or on a piece of paper, and they can't repair the sentence, then you know it's a knowledge issue. If they look at it and immediately go, oh, did I say that? Oh my god, okay. Then are able to repair the sentence, then of course it's a performance issue. Okay, and finally, if the issue in the error correction is a performance issue, so the student knows the rules but they're still making the mistake, this is something first that you need to make sure the learner is aware of. Just tell them that they can see that they're making that mistake, so that they can be a bit more conscious about it in the future. Next time the learner makes the same mistake, you can cue them and encourage them to repair themselves. Make them aware of it as possible. As long as they're aware, they're going to be able to eventually fix those fossilizations and those errors. So yeah, that's it. I think I managed it in 10 minutes, maybe 12. But yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, there's a lot of information there in the post bar. You can always email me.